absolute machine. Trust me on this.
Wow, I think you're a brave man.
I think 5-1 is far too big.
I think Dysart Diamond looks bang on here.
I think he's going to run a mighty race off that way.
It was so odd because he travelled so strongly, didn't he?
Hello and welcome to the Next Generation Racing YouTube channel for a brand new channel and a brand new video for us with my good friend Jack Dawling, who's going to be starting up this channel with me. Jack, how are you doing? I bet you're excited to get this channel up and running.
Well, Sam. What a time to be alive. We got the Dublin Racing Festival. We got racing at Sandown. We got some exciting content lined up and some brilliant guests, I must add.
Yeah, we definitely have, and we've already been in talks with some great guests for some Cheltenham Festival previews at the end of February, and very much looking forward to that festival. But this weekend we've got a cracking festival, nonetheless, the Dublin Racing Festival. But before we get into that, we are going to kick off with things at Sandown on Saturday for the one big race there, which is the rearranged Cotsworld Chase, which was meant to be at Cheltenham, obviously, last weekend. And we have got a fairly cracking renewal here. Santini and Bristol de Mai joint favourites at 5-2. Native River 9-2. St Calvados 5-1. Yarlaranki 7-1. And Lakeview Lad 16-1. Jack, it looks, like I said, a fairly decent renewal here. We've got some of the new boys taking on the old boys, and we've got some King George form being thrown in there. What have you made of this one?
I mean, of course, it was rearranged from Cheltenham last year, so that kind of like alters the age stats when you look at there's a few 11-year-olds never won this, but of course they would have been 10 when it was meant to be ran. But I think the starting point is Santini. I think he gets a lot of abuse on Twitter, and I don't think it's all justified. I mean, he's finished second in a Gold Cup, in an RSA as well, and I think this could actually be perfect for him. I mean, the ground's going to be bottomless. And when he came up against Lakeview Lad, he just got outstayed, but there were 6 fences omitted. And I think when he's going to be jumping, it's going to be favouring him because Lakeview Lad's a little bit skew-whiff over the fences. But I mean, when you look at it, I think it's Santini's at the moment, but then Native River's a bit of a head scratcher. What do you think?
Yeah, no, I did look at this race and thought, God, is there any value in this small field? And the one I landed on was the one for Harry Whittington, which was St Calvados, which I found a very interesting rival in this field. And I actually looked through to see if there was any Sandown form with these horses, because obviously this was meant to be at Cheltenham. And in the last 3 years, the only 2 that I could see that had run at Sandown were Santini and St Calvados. St Calvados finishing 3rd behind Altior in the Tingle Creek in 2018. And the thing is with St Calvados, he's going to love this heavy ground. He does love the heavy going. And I don't think he ran a really bad race in the King George. He actually took up 2nd on the bend and he just sort of faded late on. But it was his first run of the season. I think he's got plenty more to offer, St Calvados, and I think there's value in at 9-2 with him. I think Native River is going to appreciate the fact that there's going to be plenty of fences hopefully to be jumped, and I think if there were plenty more fences at Aintree the last time, I think he would have run a much better race. I think he was done by the long running, but for me, St Calvados would be the one, and for Jack, it seems like Santini's the one to follow. Moving over to the other side of the Irish Sea now and going over to Leopardstown for the Dublin Racing Festival. I'm so looking forward to this weekend, and we'll kick things off with the 105, which is a novice hurdle over 2 mile 6 furlongs. Galdemannil 3-1 favourite here, Statler 5-1, Cape Gentleman and Gentleman's Game 8-1, Blue Lord and Holy Macapony 10-1, and Bigger the rest. Jack, this is a very decent race. Now, I know that you're excited about this because I've been watching your Twitter all week and know that you've got an absolute cert in your eyes in this.
Oh, I'm just so happy we get to see the Ballymore winner in Galdemannil turn up here. I mean, it was head in chest stuff, wasn't it, last time out? And when he came sweeping around that bend, I think Paul Sandown couldn't even believe when he looked behind him and saw he was about 10, 15 lengths clear. And of course, that form has just been absolutely made to look unbelievable this weekend. So I think Galdemannil has been absolutely smashed into the market as well, because it's an interesting race, isn't it, over 2 mile 6. You've got a few going for the Ballymore, you've got a few going for the Albert Bartlett with Statler. And I think another is quite interesting is Cape Gentleman, who's, I think, 6-8-1. Won the Irish Cesarewitch, of course, but oh my word, last time out he jumped unbelievably. Didn't put a foot wrong, except at one which he stepped at it a bit. And I think he could be the one to watch. He's 25-1 for the Ballymore at the moment. I think that could cut in price from this weekend, but I think Gael de Manil is the one to watch. 7-1 for the Ballymore. Get on while you can. 16s, 12s, 10s, 7s. I think we're going to be looking at 5s.
Right, wow. He is very confident on this one. I do agree with him. I think he's the most likely winner. And like Jack says there, you can see plenty of form thrown in here, moving sort of forward to the Ballymore and the Albert Bartlett. I think you can see plenty of that going on. And potentially the one in there that's going to be a strong favourite for the Albert Bartlett will be Statler for the Mullins camp. I know that he's currently, I think he's either joint favourite or favourite for the race. But I think if it is a really strongly run race on Saturday, I think he's got plenty of ability to be staying on. But I do think this race is just fully all about Mullins. I think he holds the two keys here. But Jack said you might see the Ballymore winner here, but you might also be seeing the Albert Bartlett winner. But Gael de Manil, a very strong fancy from the Next Generation Racing team. On to the Dublin Chase, which is an absolutely corking race because we see Chacun Pour Soi taking on Min once again in this race. Remember last year, that was the result. Chacun Pour Soi beating Min. I do think we're going to be seeing the champion Chase win. I've said it all season, but I cannot see this horse being beaten if he does get to Cheltenham. The betting looks like this at the moment. Chacun Pour Soi currently 9-4 on. Min 7-2. Notebook 5-1. Fakir Dudarif, quite an interesting one in here, 14-1. Sizing Potsy, 14-1, and Bigger the rest. Jack, it seems like it's all going to be about Chacun here. Do you think there could be a chance the form could be reversed from the last year, or do you think it's going to stay the same?
I mean, I don't really think it takes a rocket scientist to tell you that it probably will be the same as last year. Chacun Pour Soi is coming into this better than ever, really, and looking for that elusive champion Chase. And I mean, the annoying thing is, I think, is that, of course, we can go on about Chacun Pour Soi, but I want to talk about the Ryanair winner, Min, here, because I think he has a brilliant chance. And, of course, when we saw him at Punchestown, we didn't because of the fog. And, I mean, Patrick Mullins got off and he was absolutely raving about Min, and he couldn't stop. He said he jumped amazingly, travelled so well, and it was just a shame that no one could actually see him. So I want to see Min put in a good performance. Chacun, I think, just needs to get round and win. Because of course it was actually quite tight up to the final fence last time. But I think if Min puts in a good performance, I think that 5-1 which we got in Ryanair could shorten a little bit. Of course, we have Allaho who has solid claims as well going for that Ryanair. But I think, as you touched upon, Fakadu Dari, like, what a mind-boggling horse that is. I mean, up to 3 miles for the Savills, back to 2 mile here. Will he be going for the Ryanair? What do you think?
Well, that's where I kind of saw this. And I know that I know a few people who have backed this horse for the Ryanair, thinking that would be ideal for him. And I kind of saw that when I watched the Savills. I thought potentially this horse is going to be well suited by the Ryanair. But you've got to remember this horse was actually well fancied for the Arkle last year. And didn't run a bad race, but the Arkle form hasn't turned out to be too bad. So I do find him a very interesting runner, but I can't see him challenging the top 2 here. I think, like you said there, Min is a top-class jumper, and he is the most likely Ryanair winner in my eyes. But Chacun Pour Soi, some of the fences towards the back end of his races, he steals lengths out of horses whilst they're tired. He just seems to jump and take a couple of lengths out of them, and I think that's where he holds the class. We haven't seen him at Cheltenham yet, but I just think that round Cheltenham, if he can do that at the end of races, he's going to be stretching clear. So I'm very much looking forward to seeing how those two get on, but interested to see how the horses get on in behind them as well. Okay, a race that I want to touch quickly upon now, and that's the Irish Arkle Chase, which is a good little novice chase here. We see Energamine, the 4-5 favourite here, unaccepted 5-1. Franco de Port is 7-1. Captain Guinness 10s, and then we have Darvastar and Felix Desi at 12s and 14-1, and Bigger the rest. Now, as much as I probably don't know how to pronounce this horse's name, I probably had about 10 goes at trying to get this right. Energamine and Energamine and Energamine. It's just one of those that I just can't get right. I did think that I found a bit of value in this race. Don't get me wrong, this favourite could be, the Irish challenger for the Arkle come March. But I do think that there's a horse, Darvastar here, who is really, I don't know what to make of this horse, because his runs over the fences have been fairly all right, but slightly disappointing. Haven't met the standards as maybe we've all expected. And I did kind of think in my head, you know, they could take this horse back over hurdles and go for a champion hurdle campaign, just due to the fact that it's a bit of an open one this year. And this horse finished third last year, but they've kept this horse over fences. So they obviously see there's plenty of ability and improvement in this horse. And I do think that 12-1 is very, very big. Now, the question I will ask you, Jack, is with the favourite here and Shishkin, who ran last weekend, do you think that there is potential for, you know, Shishkin to be beaten by this Irish challenger?
If I'm being honest, I think we could see a squeak of an upset here come the Arkle. I mean, Energumen's a little bit long for me in the market when you look at Shishkin odds on. I mean, Shishkin's obviously a magnificent beast at the odds on. He works out for himself. He has great quick feet. Mick Fitzgerald was going on a lovely analysis about those quick feet. But I think how Nico said that sometimes he wakes up and hangs left, sometimes he wakes up, he hangs right. And I don't really want to be hearing that from an odds-on Arkle favourite this early on. And I think if an Energumen puts in a performance, which Willie Mullins thinks he may do, then we could well see a little bit of a squeak of an upset.
Yeah, potentially so, but a short price favourite for the weekend. But I'm going to give a bit of a decent price in Darvastar at 12-1 each way. And now probably the highlight of day one of the Dublin Racing Festival, the Irish Champion Hurdle, which is a smaller field than I expected, but a good field nevertheless. Honeysuckle, the 5-4 favourite here. Sharjah 2-1, Saint Ra is 11-2, Abacadabras 6-1, and Petit Mouchoir and Saudi Air 12-1. Now, I was actually watching Luck on Sunday, I think it was a couple of weekends ago, right? And Joe Chambers was on there, who was Rich Ritchie's racing manager. And they were going through all of these horses, saying what's going on with Fahim, what's happening with Shaq and Poursoir, Min, Monkfish, right? And Joe Chambers literally almost stopped Nick Luck there and went, let's not forget Saudi Air. Now, I found that comment really, really interesting, just due to the fact that they obviously think there's plenty of potential with this horse. Now, I'm not saying that this horse is going to win at the weekend, Jack, but I think that if it was a dead 8 and there were 3 places in here, unfortunately there's not, but I think he'd be a decent each way bet. But there's obviously something with this horse that I think he's lightly raced, but he must have plenty of ability somewhere in there. Paul Townend actually chose this horse to ride at Christmas time, whether that was just due to the fact that Patrick Mullins had a good association with Sharjah and obviously Saint Ra had to be ridden by Mark Walsh, I don't know, but maybe Paul Townend thinks this horse has some ability as well. So I do think that he is definitely one to be watched. We see Petit Mouchoir in here as well, who just runs his race every single time and has done for years. The amount of times this horse has been placed at big prices is ridiculous. But Honeysuckle here, she is such a talented mare. She really is. And she's the kind of horse, Jack, where I feel like everyone just wants to try and get her beat, but she just won't be beat. What do you make of her?
Yeah, I think I'm a main subject for that. I mean, the Queen returns, doesn't she? But I still try and get her beat. I was sure she was beat with Benny at Cheltenham last year, and I'm sure she's going to get beat come the weekend. But of course, she probably won't at those odds. But I mean, I think you've hit the nail on the head there with Saudi finishing 6th in the Mafton after a year off. And then after that comment on Luck on Sunday, he slashed in price from 20-1 to 10-1. And I mean, that's a little bit interesting, I think, at tens. Obviously, I think it's only a 5-runner affair, but I think Petit Mouchoir, as you said, you have to give him a mention. I mean, he's 10 years old, but he showed in that Matheson, he still got it. And if you look after the final obstacle there, he was absolutely flying, though. I mean, 20-1 in a 5-runner race, of course, there's only 2 places each way, which is always a bit annoying. But I think he has to have an honourable mention, as does Sharjah winning the Matheson so easily.
Yeah, plenty of decent horses in here and some real absolute superstars from the past and the near future. So very much looking forward to that race. But it seems like it's going to be Honeysuckle versus Sharjah, myself versus Jack. But looking forward to the Irish Champion Hurdle. And
now we move on to the Sunday of the Dublin Racing Festival. And we start off with the Spring Juvenile Hurdle. Now, the market for this, we have Quilixios 5-4 Faith. We have French Asil 2-1. We have Umdor 5-1, Hard Door 7-1, Bustleton 7-1, and Saint Sam 12-1. Now, there's almost no point me going on about this race because Sam has been going on at me time and time again about one that he's so keen on this. And without further ado, I'll just let him declare his love for him right now.
Yeah, it sounds like we are going to be giving plenty of Cheltenham Festival winners on this preview. It might as well have been a Cheltenham Festival preview, the amount of times we've said, this horse will be winning at the festival. But this favourite here, Quilixios, is an absolute machine. Trust me on this one, right? I've been going on all week to Jack that this horse, while Zanahiyr was in the market, unfortunately we don't see Zanahiyr running at the weekend. This horse was sitting there around 4-1 for this race, and I've heard rumours around that this horse Quilixios is much better than Zanahiyr. He's a better horse. It might not seem that way at the moment because we've obviously seen Zanahiyr in better races, but Quilixios has not shown the gears that he's got. I can't really say that the form's been majorly franked at the moment, but I can just tell you now that we haven't seen the best of this horse, and there definitely shouldn't be around an 8-point difference in the market for the Triumph Hurdle. But Quilixios, I don't see the appeal with French still. The one who might be interesting is Umdor for the Willie Mullins camp. I think that he's gone a bit under the radar. He obviously fell last time out when travelling very, very strongly. And, you know, Mullins won the Triumph last year. So Umdor would be one to watch. But I just think this Quilixios is an absolute monster and probably going to be my banker of the weekend.
Wow, I mean that is a big statement there. I mean this is an intriguing affair because you have St Sam and Bustleton, of course Joseph O'Brien's won it the last 2 years, who have the form tied in with Zanahiyr, both finished off the back of Zanahiyr on their last 2 appearances. So I think this will give you a big idea as if Quilixios has it against Zanahiyr. But I mean, I'm probably going to take on Quilixios with French Asile. I mean, 22 lengths on debut over hurdles. It was a really nice debut. Jumped very well, but there's definitely more to come. And it's his first run for Willie Mullins, and we all know what that means because he's an absolute master. But it looks like a very keen Sam is going to go for Quilixios, and I'll be taking him on with French Asile. We then move on to the Farmer Novice Hurdle, as I like to call it, the Appreciate It Novice Hurdle. And, well, we have the market for this. We have Appreciate It, 8-11, and it doesn't matter about the rest. No. We have Ballyadam 6-1. We have Irascible 8s, Blue Lord 10s, Master McShee 12-1, and Ganapathy 12-1. Now, Sam, is this as simple as I think it's going to be? We're going to see Appreciate It. We're going to see Appreciate It win.
Yeah, well, look, being totally honest, had to kind of screw my sensible head on. I do think that Appreciate It is an absolute monster and deserves to be this heavy favourite in this sort of race after the performance of Ballyadam last time. The one thing I will say with Ballyadam is that the Gordon Elliott horses over that Christmas period, some of them did not run to form. Horses like Abacadabras, they all looked a bit flat. And I think Ballyadam was definitely flat that day. He was well backed for the race, which obviously shows that they thought a lot of him and they do think that he is a really decent horse. And even though he, you know, maybe he was beaten by Appreciate It, no matter what, Appreciate It might be the better horse. I do think that Ballyadam was better than what he showed. I thought he'd finish a lot closer than he did. He just seemed to, I don't know what it was, sort of halfway up the straight, he just sort of almost stopped, came to a halt. It was a bit of a weird one. I do think if you get betting without the favourite and you could get maybe a bit of, 7-4, 2-1, I think Ballyadam has plenty of ability. The thing that I take from it is he won the Royal Bond Novice Hurdle in great style, and we know who won the Royal Bond last season. And this horse has become an absolute star, Violin. So they obviously think this horse has got plenty of potential, but Ballyadam would be my selection, maybe without the favourite.
Wow, I think you're a brave man taking on Appreciate It, and I think a lot of people will be saying that as well. I think one who's worth a mention is Mr. Coldstone, who's 25-1. Now, of course, Sam, you know, I fancy him for the Supreme at a ridiculous price. I think he's 50s at the moment, but he won on Tremor on New Year's Day. The same race which Sam Watt and Notebook have won the last 2 years. So he's held in esteemed company there. And that was quite a nice win. He wasn't fancied. He went off 9-1 it was, but he won quite well. And I'm not sure he'll make the Supreme or he'll even go for this at the weekend. But I know he's definitely one to keep on the right side of. We then move on to the Flogas Novices Chase. And I think this year we may not see quite the winner that we saw last year when Faheen won. And what a scene that was. I mean, we all remember where we were when Faheen won that. But the downside or the upside will be that we're going to see the RSA or the Festival Novices Chase winner.
Fish pond, what's it called? Fish cake, no.
Monkfish.
Monkfish.
And we're going to see round 3 with Latest Exhibition. I mean, I feel a bit sorry for Latest Exhibition because it's almost like a min and out your thing. It's just wrong place, wrong time for him, isn't it?
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you anymore. I mean, I literally had to look at the bet and see, is there anything at a decent price could take him on? But there just isn't. It's 4-5 about Monkfish and 3-1 about Latest Exhibition and about 14-1 bigger all the rest of them. It is literally just a battle between the two. And Latest Exhibition, the one thing I love about this horse is he does not know when to give in. There was one point in Christmas where I thought, he's well beaten. He's done in now. But he just kept fighting on. I just think that he's a really brave horse. And potentially even we mentioned that we might see the Festival Novice Chase win here, or the old RSA winner in Monkfish winning here. But I just think we might see latest exhibition, who might be the second in the RSA itself. I just think that he's a really top class horse, and I think the form of that's going to be superb. It kind of, in terms of the race, reminds me of the form of like Paisley Park and Time Hill. I can't see those two being outside the first three in that race. And same with these two here. I think that these two are just a different gear to the rest of the novice chases out there over 3 miles. And I think it could be a hell of a battle. But the way Paul Townend came over the line last time on Monkfish and the noise he gave from this horse, he just knows that he's on top of an absolute beast. And Monkfish for me is he's got to be one of the ones that's going to go in trebles and doubles across the card.
Yeah, and I just want to touch upon Asterion Phalange, who's in this. I mean, is it time to go back to hurdles for him?
Yeah, look, I looked at that and thought, do they have a kind of crack at maybe a stayers hurdle or something like that, and switch after the fall last time? But I think this might be the last chance saloon, and if we don't see him perform here, I doubt we'll see him at Cheltenham at all, being totally honest. I think he might be held back until April for the festival at Punchestown. But it will be interesting to hear the reports after the race on this horse to see whether they say, look, you know, we're gonna put things back to next season. We're gonna give it another go over fences, school them a bit more, or whether they're gonna go, look, next season we're gonna go, you know, over the hurdles again and see what races we can target there. But he's a really, really classy horse. It was a shame that we didn't see the full race against Envoy Len last time, but I just don't know whether he's in the same sort of category as these two at the top of the market.
Yeah, so there we are. I think we're both pretty keen.
Fish cake.
Latest exhibition won't be far behind, but it's probably a non-betting prospect for us here. We now move on to the feature of the Sunday. We have the Irish Gold Cup in a 5-runner affair, which looks an absolute cracker, it's fair to say. I mean, we have Manila Indo at the top of the market at 2-1. We have Kenboy at 7-2. We have Melon at 4-1. Delta Work 5-1. And the Storyteller 8-1. Now, Sam, is it as simple as just forgiving Manila Indo and Delta Works?
Exactly that. I think you're completely right, and I'm very, very keen on last year's winner, Delta Work, here at 5-1. I think he's a fantastic price in a small field here. It was a shame to see him unseat the rider, but I think the reason he unseated Sean Flanagan was the fact they just don't get along. We know that Jack Kennedy is the one that Delta Work likes to be ridden by. The amount of, you know, it reminds me actually of Bryony Frost on Frodon. They just seem to have this partnership, Jack Kennedy and Delta Work, which just seems to work really, really well. And it'd be great to see Jack back on board. I think 5-1 is far too big. Yes, Manila Indo is you could forgive that run, and Manila Indo could be a real future star. But we're going to have to see that horse win this weekend to put the Gold Cup sort of in the mix. But Delta Work, I mean, 5-1 this weekend and around 25-33s for the Gold Cup in March. I think, you know, if you do fancy him this weekend, I think he could be a decent each way bet potentially for the Gold Cup in March. I can't see him potentially being out of the frame if he does win this one here. The one question I'll ask you, Jack, is with regards to Melon. 4-1 here, I think is potentially, it's an interesting one. Say it's a little bit too short for this horse, but just didn't seem to stay in the saddles at Christmas. What did you make of it?
It was so odd because he travelled so strongly, didn't he? I mean, 3 out, he definitely looked the winner, but he just couldn't find that gear off the bridle, it almost seemed, which was really weird. And as you say, I don't really think he stayed. And if the ground's going to be as bottomless as we think it is, I think you might have to tread carefully with Melon. I think it would be a fan's favourite if he did win, that's for sure. But I think I'm going to have to take you on with Delta Work. That is for sure. I mean, he's been pretty underwhelming since his Gold Cup, if I'm being honest. I think Manila Indo looks bang on here at 2-1. I think 2-1's a decent price. I mean, it's the first time they've both fallen in their career or unseated as Delta Work did. But I just think Manila Indo looks really, really good here. Obviously, second in the RSA to a Barry Geraghty, probably the best rider of his life on Champ. And we can definitely put a line through it last time. He would have learnt a lot from that. And yeah, he's going to go on leaps and bounds from here.
Do you just think with this race, though, if we look at all of the runners, we've got 5 runners in there, right? Do you think that we've got 4 Gold Cup potentials and 1 Ryanair potential in Melon? Or do you think they're all going to be sort of targeted at the Gold Cup?
It's an interesting one, isn't it? I think Melon will go for the Ryanair. I think it does depend a lot on what Min does this weekend. If Min is really underwhelming, then obviously Willie will want the best contingent, the best battalion there possible. So Melon will definitely go there. I don't think he'll probably stay out the Gold Cup trip. I think we'll get an idea of that tomorrow. I mean, the Gold Cup at Cheltenham is obviously a complete different kettle of fish. It is Leopardstown, but I mean, I think, as you say, yeah, I don't really know where the storyteller will go. Probably the Gold Cup, but I think Mellon, you're looking at Ryanair there, and probably the other three definitely, if not storyteller, to the Gold Cup.
Yeah, it'd be a major one for Mullins, wouldn't it? Mellon, Allaho and Min. Jeez, he could even have the first three home there, which would be absolutely mad. But yeah, Jack, seems like you're fairly keen on Manila Rinto, and I'm fairly keen on Delta Works. So we'll have to see whether the falls and the unseat have affected them from last time. Right, that's it for the preview of the Dublin Racing Festival, but we can't go without giving our further selections for the weekend from other races across the cards. Jack, I'll kick off with you. What have you got elsewhere?
Now, Willie Marlins, I may have to travel over to Ireland and go and have a word with him myself if he doesn't send Dysart Diamond to the Mayor's Handicap Hurdle and sends her to the Ladbrokes Hurdle instead. I mean, I was looking through the Ladbrokes Hurdle and she stood out to me as it was. I mean, she had to travel five wide round the bend, pretty much did it on the bridle, but she had to make up so much ground, more than the others here, and it was just an unbelievable performance. I mean, looking to that mare, she's 6-1, and I'm telling you now, if she goes to that mares and is declared for that mares, she goes off 3-1, 7-2. I think Dysart Diamond looks bang on here. And then in the Ladbrokes Hurdle, Advanced Virgo sets a very, very nice standard, it's fair to say, but in behind him that day was Drop the Anchor. Now, Drop the Anchor was travelling so strongly and then was about to make his challenge 2 out, got thrown at the hurdle, but unfortunately got hampered really, really badly by a faller. Managed to rally really nicely and was staying on the best of them in third, and although Advanced Virgo, it was a hands and heels performance, and Charlie Burns has won this the last 3 years, I think 11-1 about Drop the Anchor is a good enough price there.
Yeah, very interesting. Some plenty of decent prices there. Now, I will have to. It's a shame I'm doing this. I'd get absolutely rinsed for this if I was on a different podcast. But Gary Moore is back once again. I'm only going to do this for this 1 week, but we don't get to see Goshen here. Let's just first of all talk about that, because Goshen's not going to be running at the weekend. The hurdle course is not going to be run on, which is a massive shame, because Song for Someone versus Goshen was going to be a hell of a battle, and we were hopefully going to see the real Goshen come back. And it seems like, I think it's the Kingwell hurdle or the National Spirit will potentially be the next target for him. I think they're the only two options that he'd probably likely take before going to a champion hurdle, and maybe same for Song for Someone. But I think Gary Moore is still going to have a good day at Sandown on Saturday. Now, one thing, Jack, you've got to remember is that Gary Moore has a very, very good record at the course. He has a real good record at Sandown. You can't look away from a Gary Moore runner at the course. And one that I've taken note of is Benatar. I think it's in the 2:55. Now, Benatar ran a really decent race after almost 2 years off, where he finished third. And he finished third at about 33-1 and was well fancied by Pricewise and he was well fancied by Pricewise and Paul Keeley. But I just think that they've kept this horse on a mark of 142 after that last run. I think it's absolutely ludicrous. I think he's far better than 142. The one worry is it's class 3 handicap. He's going to be carrying 12 stone, but I do think he is good enough. I don't know whether he's definitely going to run, but if he does, I think he's going to run a mighty race off that weight. It will be difficult on heavy ground, but I do think 142 is an absolute joke with this horse. And Atois Phil is in the race just after that, and that's also a Gary Moore trained horse. So I think this horse is 14-1, but this horse here ran a really good race behind Smarty Wild last time, where he stayed on really nicely and has been dropped £2 since then. And I just think that potentially Gary Moore could make up for Goshen not running on Saturday with a nice little each-way double with Benatar and Atois Phil. What do you make of that, Jack?
I mean, Sam, have you ever heard of following a trainer off a cliff? I mean, your love for Gary Moore is just like other people's love for Guinness. I mean, the Leopardstown Dublin Racing Festival. So, goodness me. I mean, I can't listen to this anymore. It's just outrageous.
Yeah, well, if people didn't know, Goshen will be winning the champion hurdle in March as well. I'll finish with that. If I really wanted to carry on, I could just say that Naslam's going to win the Triumph, but I've already said Qualixios is winning that. But I don't think Naslam's winning that. But I am a Gary Moore fan. For the fans who never have watched myself on any podcast or seen my Twitter, I do love Gary Moore. We might actually have to get a T-shirt made as Gary Moore's #1 fan. I don't know if I can get one of those, but if anyone's selling merchandise like that, please do let me know. But that's it for our first video. I do hope that everyone enjoyed our preview of this weekend, and if you do like these videos, give the video a like, Comment down below as well if you want to see something from this channel. We've got plenty of ideas. Jack and I are two local lads. We live near each other, and we've got a nice little studio that's going to be coming along post all of this COVID nonsense that we've got in the way at the moment. But once we're going to have a nice studio set up. We're going to have sort of all the interaction from all of you guys who are watching. We're going to have special guests on, and we're going to make it look really cool and unique. So do let us know what you do want to see down below. So follow us on Twitter, subscribe to the channel, and we will be seeing you probably at the start of the week for our weekend review. Thanks very much for watching.